Good day everyone, I'm Remen Bukoy from BSED English 1B, and for today's video I'll be defining to you the different terms that Ma'am Elenita had given to us. So to start with, the word acrolic. Acrolic refers to the variety of acrol that has no significant difference from standard English, often spoken by the most educated speakers. So second is the most mesolec. Mesolec has unique grammatical features that distinguish it from standard English. And lastly, the basilec. Basilec, often spoken by the least educated people of the society, has very significant grammatical difference. So now let's describe and define the following terms. So to start with the jologs. So jologs is a Filipino slang term or word used to describe persons, things, or events who or which are poorly made, dirty looking, corny, and cheap. It is at times equated with baduy, another Filipino word which means out of style. Filipino linguists and historians offer different theories as to the origin of the word, although most of them agree that the earliest recorded usage of the term jologs came from the original Filipino music or the OPM. So lyrics of the early 90s preceding the internet and an invention of the middle or upper class of Manila. Since then, the word or term has developed and evolve into sub-meanings which are usually dim, negative, and offensive. So since then, the word or term has developed and evolved into sub-meanings which are usually dim, negative, and offensive. Since the advent of the internet, jologs has found its way into different web-based dictionaries and authoritative blogs which have remained true to the derogatory term. It denotes the low life, typically poor, unrefined urban youth, like for instance, the word chica means gossip. So next is the Bekimon or sword speak, also known as gay speak or gay lingo, as an argot or slang derived from Taglish or Tagalog English code switching, and used by a number of LGBT people in the Philippines. The word sword speak, according to Jose Javier Reyes, was coined by columnist and film critic Nestor Torre in the 1970s. Reyes himself wrote a book on the subject entitled Sword Speak, the preliminary study. Sword is an outdated slang for gay male in the Philippines. So the origin of this individual or the individual words and phrases, however, has existed longer and come from a variety of sources, like the word Janakis meaning children, child, son, or daughter. So next, the word Jejemon is popular culture phenomenon in the Philippines. It is thought that Jejemon or Jejenes originated in text messages among people who wanted to draw attention by being different. These people wanted to be artsy and creative with their texting style. Another probable origin of the practice was to shorten the words and in the process misspelling the words. So, for example, the word is hello. Instead, you write it H.E.L.L.O. Like that. That is jejemon. So, let's move on. Let's discuss the meanings of the following. So, to start with the code switching. Code switching is the process of shifting from one linguistic code or the language or dialect to another, depending on the social context or conversational settings. Next is the discourse. Discourse refers to a unit of language longer than a single sentence. The word discourse is derived from the Latin prefix dis, meaning away, and the root word currere, or meaning to grant. So, social discourse is speech or text communication that involves a social element. The definition of discourse is very broad. The word discourse refers to nearly of all many ways that means communicate with each other. Next is the cultural discourse analysis. is an approach to communication which explores culturally distinctive communication practices as these occur in their everyday context. The meanings participants activate in those practices, as well as the cross-cultural analysis of those everyday practices and their meanings. So, discourse analysis is a method of analyzing the structure of text or utterances longer than one sentence, taking into account both their linguistic content and in their social-linguistic context. Analysis performed using this method. So now let's explain how do languages and cultures interact and influence each other. So it is true that a society will make attempts to change its language or fights to keep the influences of other languages out. Culture influences the language that is spoken within its constraints as a society, such as how certain words are used in support of the culture. It's through language that members of a specific culture communicate with each other and create bonds with each other. So, our experiences within our various cultures shape how we behave with humanity at large and within our groups, changing how we speak. Like, for example, teenagers speak in acronyms, initials, and emojis in social media.